Just mention the word test around a student, and I'm sure that you can start to see anxiety come across their face. I'm an adult, and it still happens to me. But unfortunately, testing is just a part of life, a part of your child's education. And here to help put students and parents at ease is mom and psychologist Amy Trout. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not alone, right? Like, we can agree, testing is extremely stressful for everybody involved.
Yeah, lots of people don't even like the word.
I know.
You already have those heart palpitations going, like.
So, all right. So, what's the cause of that? Why are students, obviously they want to do well, they don't want to fail.
Yeah. So, well, it could be, history. If they've had a failure experience, sometimes that just is such a raw, hurtful thing that it's hard to imagine getting into that situation again. So if you've had a bad testing experience, or fear, and that links to fear, right? So fears that maybe are even irrational. Some of that self-talk that we...
But what are we, when you talk about fear of failure, what is it? Fear of disappointing our parents? Just fear of not is it all of it?
It depends on the person. So you have to really identify what the fear is for you. So for some people, they have like negative self-messages that roll through their head, right? And they're not always conscious of it, or they're not always happening. But in testing situations, where the rubber meets the road, sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I know I can't do this. I know I'm really not smart enough. I've tricked people to get my way here. Whatever the things that kind of roll through their heads in the darker times kind of come to the fore and then start preoccupying their thoughts.
So there is a genuine fear of failure that can come across. Lack of preparation.
Really, that's such a huge thing on a practical level. The more you know your content, the less anxiety you're going to feel.
Okay.
That's really basic. I learned that one in grad school when I'd have to give speeches, and I really wasn't familiar with the content. And someone once told me that, and I was like, wow, that totally makes sense. Like, you can really rest in, I've got this. I don't have to try to look for words to explain what I'm trying to say. Like, I really do know. And then you can reassure yourself when the fear gets irrational. Like, I really do know what I'm talking about.
Well, because I was asking you, are there some people, I thought myself, that were just bad test takers, but we were thinking maybe it's just they're just bad at preparing for the test. That's the common theme that comes up.
Yeah, there's strategies, that you have to kind of incorporate based on your own sort of fear profile.
Which goes into the which we mentioned too, poor test history. So that just may be causing anxiety. Well, let's get to the other side of the coin and help some parents out.
Yeah.
If we have parents watching this morning, you say combat that fear. How? How do we do that?
So by trying to figure out what the fear is linked to, right? Okay. So you'll have physiological reactions sometimes, and then you'll have psychological reactions, or things that go on in your head. If you can really try to identify what's going on in your head and then try to figure out where it's from. So let's say, oh, I never do well on tests, I'm a bad test taker. Okay, what's that linked to? Well, I failed this exam in 6th grade, or whatever they're linked to. Then you can go, okay, that was one exam. You can kind of come back around the fear, wrap it up with some logic, and I'm more prepared this time. But
so as parents, maybe really help identify what your kids are afraid of.
Yeah, like if it's a perfectionism thing, like I have to do perfect, or I'm worthless. That's that's a whole different dragon to conquer, right? So then you have to really work on what's the worst thing that happens if you don't do great on this test. Once you've prepared and if things fall apart, really it doesn't have anything to do with you as a human being.
Right. You say prepare. Help your kids prepare.
Yeah, and that's runs the gamut of getting decent sleep and making sure you eat well and doing everything you can in your power. Let's say that for a certain test it takes 20 hours, for most people to really kind of get the material. Make sure you give that 20 hours. Chart it, track it, write it down. Make sure that you've
Talk with the teachers about what you can be doing at home.
Yeah, and then you can also use that to combat what goes on up here.
Yeah.
I've prepared. I've given it the time. I'm probably pretty good with the content, so that's one less fear.
And that goes into the last one as we wrap up. Stay focused.
Yeah, really trying to focus on the things that are true and the things that matter versus the kind of the crazy thoughts that go through all of our minds in different times. And so, okay, I've prepared, I've slept, I've done the best I can, I've given it enough time, probably more time than needed. Ultimately, this test doesn't make or break who I am as a human being, so
amen. I was just going to ask your final thought on everything and kind of the take home, but I think that's a great point to end it right there. So, Amy, thank you so much for being here this morning. Hopefully, we've been able to calm some nerves for parents and students.
Hopefully so, yep.
Yeah, for more info, though, head to our website, fox4morningblend.com. Up next, grab your rods. We are heading to one of the most popular fishing spots in the world as we prepare for the start of tarpon season right here in Southwest Florida. And while we are there, we take you to a restaurant nearby that will leave you hooked after a long day on the water.